Open the meeting, and I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening. Can we please have a roll call?
I just want to note for the record, this is the that's okay. The Freeholder meeting of February 5th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Roll call is Freeholder Fantasia.
Here.
Freeholder Fasano.
Here.
Freeholder Hertzberg will be absent this evening. Freeholder Director Patillo.
Here.
And Freeholder Yardley.
Here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you please stand with us for a moment of silence? And please join with us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, adequate notice is defined by Section 3G of Chapter 231, PL 1975, has been made by regular mail, such notice being submitted on January 3rd, 2020, from the Administrative Center of the County of Sussex, located at 1 Spring Street, Newton, New Jersey, to the following: New Jersey Herald, New Jersey Sunday Herald, Star Ledger, WSUS Radio, WNNJ Radio, and is also posted on the bulletin board maintained in the Administrative Center for Public Announcements, and has been submitted to the Sussex County Clerk in compliance with said act. Could I have a motion to move the agenda? And I want to make a correction first. I just want to state that on item 15, that is a resolution, it is not an ordinance. Okay, so just with that correction, can I have a motion to move the agenda? So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're going to begin with proclamations and certificates and presentations. And today we have two proclamations, and I'm going to do the first one. So, I'd like to ask Marty Baldwin, a Marine, to please come up from our Division of Public Nursing, Public Health Nursing. And we are going to talk about women and heart attacks, right? I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about right now. It's the American Heart Association Go Red for Women Day and what that means in our lives. I'm just going to talk for a little first, if you don't mind, and if you want to say something before the proclamation, that would be great, too. How many women here, be true about this, how many women, raise your hand, really take the time to take care of themselves? One, two, half, 2.5. And we have two that don't and two more that don't. And it's just common to find that women are so busy, they're normally the caretaker. They're not the ones that are really caring for themselves. And I think in this day and age, when there's so much stress, so much going on, it's commonplace for us to run into trouble sometimes because we didn't go to the doctor or we didn't have things handled when they should have been handled. And I'm going to share my short little story to just explain how this usually happens, especially in my house. I was sitting on the couch one night. My husband was asleep on the couch, and it was probably about 11:30 at night. I got a pain in my chest. And I thought, wow, that hurt. I didn't feel it. I'm uncomfortable. Next thing, I had a pain in my arm. And I thought, wow, that's not good. And then my fingers went numb. And I thought, oh, I'm having a heart attack. But I didn't want to wake up my husband. So I wrote him a note, and it said, I think I'm having a heart attack. I went to the hospital. I'll call you when I'm done, right? Never thinking he's going to wake up before I get home. So off I go in the car to Morristown Hospital. As I'm driving, I think to myself, I should call someone so they know where I am in case I have a heart attack on the road. So I called my sister in California. And I said, I'm at this mark, I'm at this mark, I'm turning right now. So I figured if you don't hear me in a few minutes, just call an ambulance because I probably had a heart attack. And I thought at 11:30 at night that this was rational. Until my husband called hysterical. Where are you? What is going on? I thought I was having a heart attack, but you know what? I didn't have a heart attack, so I'm on my way home. But the point was, what if I was having a heart attack? I mean, that became the point. I had friends that say, if you ever do that again, just call the ambulance. But you feel you don't want to bother people. It's late at night. I know they're volunteers at that hour. I figure I can make it to the hospital before something happens. But the truth of the matter is, it's a pretty foolish thing to do. And now I do go to a heart doctor regularly. I was not having a heart attack. I had strained something, a muscle in my arm, and I got the most painful muscle shot I ever had in my life, but I didn't have a heart attack. But the idea is, what if you were having that heart attack, and why wasn't I taking care of myself? And it changed my whole outlook on myself, because I realized if something had happened, it could have been a tragedy right there. And my poor husband was sitting home where he could have helped me, but I just didn't want to bother him. But it's not uncommon for women to push themselves aside, or I don't have time, or it's a little pain, I can handle that. And the truth of the matter is we have to really be cognizant of the things that are going on in our lives. Because if you really do have a problem with today's technology, they can fix it. They can do amazing things when it comes to heart today. So I would just, I first want to compliment the 2.5 that are working on it, and Christine, you and I are going to have to see if we can do something about that. I don't remember, Colleen, where were you? Were you a handshake up or no?
I'm a half.
You're a half, so, okay. But I just want to read a few things about, before I give you the proclamation again. Friday, February 7th, 2020 is the American Heart Association's signature women's initiative, Go Red for Women Day. And Go Red for Women is designed to increase women's health heart awareness and serve as a catalyst for change to improve the lives of women globally and advocate for more research. Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women. That always amazes me because I always think of men, but it's not, it's women. Causing 1 in 3 deaths each year. That's approximately 1 woman every minute. Heart disease doesn't affect all women alike, and the warning signs for women aren't the same in men. And I'm going to take the time to read some of those warning signs. Women are somewhat more likely to experience a shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting, and back or jaw pain. Other symptoms women should look out for are dizziness, feeling lightheaded or fainting, pain in the lower chest or upper abdomen, and extreme fatigue. Now, extreme fatigue is just natural for women, but it could be a sign, so you really need to look for that as well. And you need to know that heart disease affects women of all ages. So it's no longer about just wearing red. It's no longer just about sharing heart health facts. It's about all women making a commitment to stand together with Go Red and take charge of their own health as well as the health of those they can't bear to live without. A new study shows women's heart disease awareness is increasing, which is a good thing, with the number of women aware that heart disease is the leading cause of death nearly doubling in the last 15 years. This knowledge still lags in minorities and younger women, according to the American Heart Association. So it's important that we take care of ourselves, watch out for the warning signs, and they're not always this signs. Sometimes people have other signs that don't fit into this little grouping here. But see a doctor regularly and take care of yourself. And would you either of you like to speak because you're involved in these things?
Absolutely. Women always think that it's a GERD reaction, the GI and upset, abdominal pain, the reflux. A lot of women think that that's what it is, and indeed it's heart related. So if it's not, we would rather have you see a cardiologist, go to the emergency room and be checked out that way. And if indeed it is GERD or the reflux problem, it's much easier to handle than to have a heart attack and think that that's the reason. So, and men do show different signs than women, you're absolutely right, and that was one thing that we really wanted to press, that women are so different. Men, a lot of them get that pain around the upper chest, like a belt-like area. Women frequently do not experience that. So the symptoms are definitely different.
So I encourage all of you to wear red to show support for women and men on Friday. For us in the county, there will be pictures taken as a group here in the administration building and over in the Wheatworth building, where we've asked some of the outer offices if they just take like a group office picture and send it in to Thor. So, thank you for listening.
Yeah. And thank you for the awareness.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's okay. Distracted.
I just want to say thank you to the Freeholders for allowing us to be here, and for the proclamation.
Well, you do so much, and you're in the trenches there working with everybody. We appreciate all that you guys do. So.
If I could, Sylvia, just before you end, I don't think sometimes we as freeholders, and being up here, let you know that the work you do is very important, and we appreciate it. And if you can convey that back to all of the public health nurses, that we do appreciate the work you do and the outreaches. I think the outreach is important.
You're everywhere. You
Thank
do
you.
so much that we don't even realize, so we want to definitely tell you how grateful we are for all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Down here. So, whereas the Sussex Warren Chronic Disease Coalition celebrates the extraordinary progress in women's heart health and recognizes that more needs to be done in Sussex County to safeguard women's health for generations to come. Whereas heart disease is among the leading cause of death among women. I hope that you'll spread that around, because I didn't realize that. Whereas many women do not know that heart disease is a woman's problem and they do not take it seriously. Whereas the risk factors for heart disease are smoking, high blood pressure, high cholesterol and high triglyceride levels, overweight, obesity, physical inactivity, metabolic syndrome, diabetes and prediabetes, a family history of early heart disease, age, history of preeclampsia. Whereas women can take action to protect their heart health and prevent heart disease by taking steps to prevent and control the risk factors for the disease. Whereas keeping women health and promoting awareness of women's health issues, including heart disease, is an important responsibility and depends on the actions of many organizations and groups in our community. Whereas women's health remains a priority for families, communities, and government, and our commitment to keeping women healthy is stronger than ever. Whereas the Heart Truth Program and its red dress symbol are building awareness of women's heart disease risk and empowering them to reduce their risk and prevent heart disease. Therefore, Sussex County women now need to take action to make heart health a priority for themselves and their families, become aware of their risk for heart disease, and take action to their heart health. Now therefore be it resolved that the Sussex County Board of Chosen Freeholders do hereby proclaim February 2020 as American Heart Month and Friday, February 7th, 2020 as National Wear Red Day in the County of Sussex, and encourages our citizens to support efforts to reduce heart disease and stroke in both women and men. National Wear Red Day by order of the Board of Chosen Freeholders, Sylvia Patillo, Freeholder Director, Dawn Fantasia, Freeholder Deputy Director, Anthony Pisano, John Hersberg, and Herb Yarley, Freeholders. So thank you again for everything. Thank you for coming and speaking. I really appreciate it. Picture.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And Freeholder Deputy Director Dawn Fantasia is going to, about the proclamation and celebration of 100th anniversary year, 100 years anniversary of women's suffrage. Yes. Is there someone here to receive this? Oh, that's the
Okay. I'll just read some information about it and then read the proclamation. So just to give a bit of background, there's something that I found that was really interesting that I shared with my students at school from Scholastic. The demand for the enfranchisement of American women was first seriously formulated at the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848. After the Civil War, agitation by women for the ballot became increasingly vociferous. In 1869, however, a rift developed among feminists over the proposed 15th Amendment, which gave the vote to black men. Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, and others refused to endorse that amendment because it did not give women the ballot. Other suffragists, however, including Lucy Stone and Julia Ward Howe, argued that once the black man was enfranchised, women would achieve their goal. As a result of the conflict, two separate organizations emerged. As pioneer suffragists began to withdraw from the movement because of age, younger women assumed leadership roles. One of the most politically astute was Carrie Chapman Catt, who was named president of NAWSA in 1915. Another prominent suffragist was Alice Paul. Forced to resign from NAWSA because of her insistence on the use of militant direct action tactics, Paul organized the National Woman's Party, which used such strategies as mass marches and hunger strikes. Perseverance on the part of both organizations eventually led to victory. On August 26, 1920, the 19th Amendment granted the ballot to American women. We don't often realize that the demand or the want for representation to vote began in 1848 and did not come to full fruition in the country until 1920, and even then hit hurdles. I think the turning point for the suffragist movement was World War I in this country for action. It's been said that 5 million men were mobilized in World War I, but over 9 million women mobilized themselves. Without women, tens of thousands of men needed at the front would have been needed to work jobs in agriculture and industry and manufacturing. And instead, women built warships, airplanes, tanks, rifles, machine guns, uniforms, and were charged with keeping agriculture strong in this country. And I find it fitting that in 2020, that for the first time in its history, 100 years later, that the Sussex County Board of Chosen Freeholders is led by 2 females, who undoubtedly also had the honor, the privilege, but most importantly, the inalienable right to vote for ourselves. I am wearing my purple today in honor of the suffragist movement, and I would like to read our proclamation. Celebration of the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage. Whereas the year 2020 marks the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution, guaranteeing and protecting women's right to vote. And whereas this centennial offers an opportunity to commemorate a milestone of democracy, that the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the federal or state governments on account of gender. And whereas New Jersey has a long storied history in the suffrage movement, with New Jersey women playing a crucial role in pursuing the rights of women to vote. And whereas in 1867, New Jersey residents Lucy Stone and Harry Blackwell organized the New Jersey Women's Suffrage Association, NJWSA, devoted to gaining women's suffrage. And whereas in 1917, New Jersey suffragists Allison Turnbull Hopkins, Julia Hulbert, Beatrice Reynolds Kincaid, and Minnie D. Abbott picketed in front of the White House as part of the Silent Sentinels and subsequently were arrested and imprisoned. And whereas on June 4th, 1919, Congress passed the 19th Amendment guaranteeing all American women the right to vote. Whereas on February 9th, 1920, New Jersey became the 29th state to ratify the 19th Amendment granting women the right to vote. And whereas shortly after the ratification of the 19th Amendment, Margaret Laird and Jenny Van Ness were the first 2 women elected to the New Jersey Assembly in 1921. And in 1925, Rebecca Estelle Bourgeois Winston of Estelle Manor was New Jersey's first woman mayor. Now therefore be it resolved, in honor of the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, County of Sussex employees will voluntarily wear purple, one of the colors of the New Jersey suffrage movement, on February 10th. Be it further resolved that the County of Sussex supports the efforts of New Jersey's suffrage centennial New Jersey Women Vote and strongly encourages local celebrations of this historic milestone. By order of the Board of Chosen Freeholders, Sylvia Patillo, Freeholder Director, Dawn Fantasia, Freeholder Deputy Director, Anthony Fasano, Joshua Hertzberg, and Herb Yardley, Freeholders.
Thank you. Thank you for that information, Jim. I'd like to have a motion to adopt the proclamation A and B.
I make it.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There's no public hearing, so I'd like to open to the public session. This is our first public session. It's for agenda items only. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less and must only address the issues regarding our agenda items. Please state your name and print your name and municipality on the sign-in sheet. Can I have a motion to open, please? So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Please come to the podium, make sure you sign your name and your municipality. If you'd like to speak on anything on the agenda. Okay, not hearing any, can you bring it back, please? Can you bring it back? So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. We can move now to freeholders' comments. Anthony, can we start with you?
Sure. Good evening. Thank you all for coming here tonight. I don't have too much to report, but I'm coming off the heels of Greg, 11 hours, if I understand that correctly, an 11-hour orientation on Saturday with all of our divisions and departments and their directors and leaders to really get a crash course of where the county is at right now. And that was tremendously helpful. So I'm very appreciative for all those employees who took some time on a Saturday to come and meet with me and with Greg. I very much appreciate it. We scheduled another long meeting for next week, Greg, and that is my first look at the proposed budget and the work that's going into that. But I did want to talk a little bit today. Last night I had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Connolly, the president of Sussex County Community College. And today I had the opportunity to do a tour of Sussex County Vocational School with their superintendent, Gus Medella. And what is becoming, I think, pretty clear and pretty apparent is this importance and this focus on technical education and the impact that it's going to have on the future of Sussex County, on its job market, and the way in which its economy competes in the future. And those two academic institutions are going to act as pillars of driving that forward. So I'm really excited about the future of technical education in Sussex County. But other than that, I will leave that all for future meetings. So that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Me? Well, thank you very much. Last week I had talked about some changes to how we are providing our veteran services, and so I have a proposal that I'd like to talk about. It was about 3 years ago that I think I talked to Dave Pearson, and I have the Carol's here about the numbers. But we introduced Dave and Carol and brought Catholic Charities in here, and we developed a really good program for our veterans. And then building on that, we were able to get Bill Robertson from the state to come in and provide services. And now as the Littell Center is closing, in a sense, since it's been sold, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I was told by Bill, he'll be moving into this office here. We're going to be providing space. So it's an opportunity for us to expand that operation, and I'd like to see us formalize it either into an office of Veterans Affairs or Veterans Information. I understand that there is some concern about it, what happens if the state moves out, but I think we need to move that forward. Some of the things that have been going on and why I think we need to expand it is that we have a lot of veterans coming here through senior services, and I think that office works with them. I think we can enhance our programs. Last year I asked that a survey be done, and I believe that survey has been done or is being done. I know they did some last year. I'm looking for a report on that so we can see if there are additional things we need to provide. But I am looking forward, or asking the board, that we actually have a phone number that if someone calls up, they have a specific number, and we have somebody that will be able to provide information. I'm not the liaison to senior services, so I hope there's no objection that I continue to work with the veterans and the different veterans I have and the different veterans groups. For example, and I have to excuse me for the late report on this, but on December 12th, one of the programs that we had was a discussion of veterans community care that was held in December at the Fire Academy. And that really helped the veterans learn what their benefits are. Again, it was held up here, it was advertised through the county. And I think there's, the more outreach we do, the better opportunity we have for our veterans. Also, senior services, and you'll see that in your report from senior services. I'm sorry. Okay. If you have your report from Carol, American Legion in Franklin, the senior service staff attended a regional meeting. And they talked about January 15th, and they talked about the services available at the Division of Senior Services. So I think we're doing a lot of this, and I'd like to see us expanded, and at least have a survey done so we know what direction we're going. The other thing I'd like to talk about is the administrative code. I know that we've been waiting for some time for all the departments to kind of send to send their information. Everyone's busy. One of the things we did, we set up a employees relation committee with 2 freeholders. I'd like to see that formalized in our administrative code with how we're going to operate, or through a resolution, so we have a clear understanding as to what can come before that board. Right now, we have not decided that. We've dealt with some issues. I'd like to see us move forward. I look at 2 things here, the administrative code and the employee handbook as living documents. So I don't think we need to wait, and this is something I'm asking the director and deputy director to evaluate. If we wait for a complete and everybody document, I'll be many years old before that thing is done. I think that we can take a part of the administrative code and say, let's work on this, what we need done for us, and do that. And as things come in, we can do it. Same thing with the personnel manual. Instead of waiting for an entire document, maybe the way to do that is to say, okay, let's take the first 4 or 5 pages, and I think we're more apt to really look at those because it's a little at a time, and work on that. Because what happens is we get wrapped up in trying to get everything done, and is it just something I'm asking for you to look at? The other thing is I went to, Baxter and I, let you know, went to a 4-hour meeting on the blue algae, and I have some pamphlets here, and I'll give you some highlights, and there's a lot of documentation. So I'm going to ask our clerk to copy these and get it to the board, but a few things I'd like to talk about. There was a lot of discussion about water runoff of pollutants into the lakes, sewer discharge, septic, and lawn treatment. And there were a lot of regulations that were explained for about the first hour. And the nut and bolts of things, after about an hour and a half, we started to get into some of the issues and treatments. So they gave a great presentation on the various treatments of the algae, what is extremely innovative, and I didn't realize that you can use peroxide to clear up the lake and it doesn't harm the vegetation or the fish. However, that's an expensive process and you really have to evaluate it. But it was really amazing the different treatments that we have. So one of the things I wanted to say here is, let's see, is that, what's the best course of action? There's a question as to, in the law, what is the standard enforcement? And I think there was some confusion over whether you could use the water, what was a private lake, what isn't a private lake, and that was explained that public bathing is condo associations. A town lake is not a private. If you have 4 or 5 people in a community and they're all using the lake, that's considered a public lake. So the law pertains to public lakes. If you have a backyard going out to the water, you can do what you want, in essence. The other question, a couple of questions we had about standard enforcement. which I thought this was interesting, is during the same time we did not allow swimming and bathing, certain parts of Pennsylvania and New York did. They allowed boat action and fishing. The explanation is we have better testing than Pennsylvania and New York, therefore we have better results and can evaluate it. I'm hoping that the state will try to come up with a common, a law here, because we have 2 states. So if the water is, they have some results. So if the water in Pennsylvania didn't affect people, and I'm not saying, I'm not giving any evaluation on this, I think you need to have a clear explanation as to why there's a difference, so the public has a clear understanding of it. And the other issue is an issue that I've had, the other thing they brought up, and I have an issue with this, and I've always had to have an issue, and I've taken some heat for this, but they recommend everyone pump their septic tanks. So I asked for the 1,000th time. Is there definitive information on pumping out septic systems and the introduction of nitrates and phosphorus into a lake? Can you show me that data? Where has that testing been done? Or is this one of those things that we assume pumping out septics are helpful? And I would be more than happy to talk to anybody in depth about pumping out septics and potential pros and cons. I'm sure I'm going to get some calls on this. So I asked, and I was told by one of the specialists up there that, and I believe he said he worked for the OPACON.
Oh, that's Princeton Hydro?
It may be, but I gave him my card, said please email me. I haven't seen it yet. Please send me information, because he said he knows of one study out of Pittsburgh University. So we did have the DEP there, and I was waiting for the DEP to say, well, here's the definitive answer on that. I really would like to know the answer, so if there's someone out there, if you know somebody says, hey, I have the information, please feel free to contact me. Information is knowledge, and I love to learn. Yeah. So we're talking about the phosphorus load. So I hope that there's more information on that coming, because I want to see all of the lakes healthy in the county. I want to see us have a healthy lake. I want to see this situation resolved, and I will help in any ways any freeholder would here. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so first, news from my towns. This past Friday, I attended the Franklin Fire Department annual spaghetti dinner. And the week before, I attended the FOP Lodge 57, which is Franklin and Ogdensburg, their annual beefsteak dinner. And the Friday prior to that, I attended the Glenwood Pochuck for EMS, first responders 40th anniversary. So I just want to stress the importance, first of all, of our first responders and supporting them. I always try to attend when I can any event that they invite me to. I'm eagerly awaiting to hear from Hardiston. I think they're the last holdout to invite me to one of these. But again, I would really like, I think, to hear more. I know I proposed the idea of having the liaisons last year, but I think it's really important that we report back different things that we're doing and our involvement in the towns that we have been, somewhat named as liaison to, just to kind of give them a bit of a shout out and let them know that there's somebody up here that's really paying special attention to them. I attended the Sussex County League of Municipalities January meeting, and at that time, Senator Steve Oraho provided some legislative updates to us. The New Jersey League of Municipalities President James Perry of Hardwick, our neighbor right here in Warren County, small little hamlet of 1,700 people in Hardwick he's from, so it's nice that someone's leading the league from a rural area, much like ours. he spoke as well. But Senator Oroho gave us some of the most recent legislative updates, including ramifications on our county of the governor's green energy bill. So that's something that we should probably keep a careful eye on. It's Executive Order 100. Part of that is protecting against climate threats. It's called PACT, and it's part of our governor's energy master plan. It requires green energy status of 50% by the year 2030 and 100% green energy status by 2050. Some of the concerns that have been discussed is shutting off access to natural gas, and the fact that 75% of our homes are actually powered by natural gas. This can have a serious impact and increased cost to seniors, middle class, and low-income families. BPU is holding 8 public meetings to gather input on this from our residents, and the public comment period ends September 16th. So I think it's important that we keep an eye on that and perhaps see when it would be best that we could provide any feedback, from our constituents as well, and publish perhaps when we find when these meetings are. I know there was one that was held in Hackensack already, I believe, and they were gathering comments. So let's just keep an eye on that and what the impacts may be as the state moves forward with that executive order. Also, I did receive a press release from Sussex County Technical School to discuss that this is Skills USA Week, February 2nd to 8th. It's an annual celebration, represents over 365,000 Skills USA members nationwide, and it again, as Anthony was saying, it promotes career and technical education. The governor has also declared this month with Technical Education Month. So I mentioned that, I believe, in my last report, but this specific week highlights the benefits of the Skills USA program. It aims to develop personal, workplace, and technical skills grounded in academics. And this week, a lot of the schools that participate include presentations to administrators, to the community, to business leaders, legislators. Some schools hold open houses and community service events to benefit local charities. And students lead most of the events, and they really promote industry partnership. It's something that's held the second full week of February each year in conjunction with Career and Technical Education Month. So Skills USA Week is a time to spread the positive message of the organization and really encourage students' involvement in career and technical education. And I think it's actually a perfect complement, and I think it's a real bipartisan effort from all sides to really stress the need to support students and guide them in the direction careers in technical education. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to say we need to really look at that green energy bill and how it relates to Sussex County, because from what I've heard, I haven't read it myself, it's going to stop all redevelopment and development up here. And that's a problem, among other things with that. I do want to talk about a few things from Department of Health. The Sussex County Division of Health has been attending bi-weekly meetings with state and federal agencies to prepare to respond to potential cases of the 2019 Wuhan coronavirus outbreak that originated in Wuhan, China. And I want you to listen carefully to the next line. There have not been any cases confirmed by the CDC to date in New Jersey. Okay. However, as of February 5th, 2020, 12 cases have been confirmed in 6 states across the United States. The CDC states the immediate health risk is low to residents in the United States. While the coronavirus is in the forefront, the Division of Health reminds everyone not to forget about the flu. Current risk for flu is high per the New Jersey Department of Health. The division reminds you to cover your coughs and sneezes, wash your hands frequently, and you can still get a flu vaccine. And if you need a vaccine, just call the Office of Public Health Nursing to schedule an appointment at 973-579-0570, extension 1211. I also want to mention that there are 2 caregiver support groups. One is from the Division of Senior Services, and it will be held at the Division of Senior Services in the 2nd floor conference room located at the Sussex County Administrative Center right here That's on February 7th, 2020, from 2 to 3. There also will be another caregiver support group at the Apacon Community Resource and Wellness Center at 47 Apachon Road in Apacon on Wednesday, February 19th, 2020, from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. You know, as we spoke about women's health, caregivers are always at risk as well. So if you are a caregiver or you know someone who's a caregiver, please let them know that there are 2 programs that will be going on in February. Okay.
Sylvia, if I could just.
Sure, right, go ahead.
I was thinking, sorry I didn't bring up earlier, I think it might be helpful to have someone, if not Jim, I don't know, because I know Jim McDonald, he's not the expert, but to explain some of the treatments for legs, the small version, 20 minutes or something, so that you become familiar with that, because I think we're going to be hearing about some of these as we move forward. And also, I don't know if we talked about it, but the Trump administration has taken the state of New Jersey to court. Everyone aware of that?
Because of sanctuary state.
Because sanctuary state. So I don't know if you talked about that or that was mentioned, but that was on newjersey.com. So I think our resolution was the right thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. There were also 2 things that were mentioned in that address last night, and one was the internet for rural areas, which has been a real block for us with bringing in startup companies and businesses. And the other one was the president's support for VOTEC education. So he went through a lot of things, but if you go over and review what he talked about, there were a lot of things that relate to us up here. And when I heard about the internet, because we've been trying to get that through and work with the state, our problem is that our homes are so spread apart that there's no money in it. So if there's some type of funding that comes from the federal government to enable these countries to actually give us a high-speed broadband internet service, it enables us to start these different, bring some other companies and businesses, and people that have home business, that work from home also need that. And you certainly have enough storefronts. I mean, you see it in Newton, you see it in all the towns that are empty. There'll be perfect places for those type of businesses. So that could make a big difference depending on what the federal government decides to do. I want to just ask about 2 meetings that we have and just work on time so we can get that set. We have the February 19th meeting, and can we start at 6 or we need to go at 7?
That day, I actually have a meeting in Newark, and I don't get out till after 5, so I had requested if we can make that meeting begin at 7 p.m., please.
All right, so we could work out then, Terry, if we come in at 6 for executive session.
I'm not sure if we'll have executive session. Are you primarily interested with respect to the Second Amendment or the entire meeting?
The entire meeting, I would like to start at 7 as we did last year, just for this specific meeting.
Yeah, I think we need to do it. So thank you. So our next meeting, which would be, what is it, the 19th?
The 19th.
February 19th, we'll start at 7 and not at 6 p.m.
Thank you.
That's fine. Now, the February 18th budget work session, 4 or 5 p.m.?
Preferably 5.
Okay, is there anyone that has a problem with 5? Okay, then we'll make that one at 5. Thank you very much. Okay, that's fine.
So it's the 18th at 5 p.m., the 19th at 7 p.m.
That's correct. Okay. All right, thank you. Approval of consent agenda. The Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Sussex has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions and determined that the adoption of the said resolution is in and will further the public interest. If any freeholder would like to remove an item to be considered separately, please do it now. Okay, not hearing anything, can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda from A to C?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, can I have a roll call, please?
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Fasano?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley?
Yes.
Approval of minutes. A motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting, January 22nd, 2020. Do you have some amendments?
I do. I have 2 amendments in the comment section for public discussion 1. A gentleman from Vernon, the minutes say Matthew Connolly. That individual's name is Matthew Conway, C-O-N-W-A-Y. And then also there is a speaker from Morristown, I believe.
Yes.
And he referenced restrictions of African Americans and people of color for access to firearms, and that's something that was in written notes but not able to be audibly heard on the minute. So I would like that reflected, that gentleman did introduce in his public commentary that he felt there has been past barriers to minority access for firearms.
All right, then can I have a motion to approve as amended the minutes from January 22nd, 2020 for regular meeting?
I'll make.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. We have executive session meetings, January 22nd, 2020. Is there any, there's no amendments there or changes? So a motion to approve the executive session meetings from January 22nd, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, no changes. Can I have a voice vote of all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Number 12, we're going on to appointments and/or resignations. Okay, can I have a motion to adopt said appointments A and B?
Make it.
Second.
Any discussion? A roll call, please.
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Fasano?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley?
Yes.
Okay, on 13, we have resolutions. Can I have a motion to adopt said resolutions A and B?
I'll make it.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Is there any specifics that actually would be on the agenda for the temporary closure of County Road 616 for the St. Patrick's Day Parade? Any times that that's happening?
Let me see.
Do we have a date too? Would you have a date?
Just give me a moment.
Okay, and so the closure would need to be from 9:15 a.m. to the parade's conclusion at approximately noon.
Is there a date?
March 21st.
March 21st. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so, again, do I have a motion and a second?
Make the motion.
Is there any other discussion, corrections? Okay, roll call, please.
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Fasano?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Patillo?
Yes?
Freeholder Yardley?
Yes.
Okay. There are no awards of contract or change orders or bids or financial. We have, well, it is financial. We have an introduction for the first reading, and now this is a resolution. That's what we amended at the agenda. It's not an ordinance, a resolution 001-2020. Authorizing cap to limit county budget appropriation increase in current year 2020, county budget to 3.5% over the previous year's final appropriations, subject to certain exceptions, and to establish an appropriation cap bank. This motion is to adopt this resolution on first reading and authorize the clerk to advertise this resolution as introduced for first reading, and also post same on the bulletin board in the lobby of the County Administrative Center, together with a notice of public hearing stating that a hearing will be held on February 19th, 2020 at 6 p.m. prior to final adoption of this resolution. Before we go forward for a motion, would you just read a short explanation?
Sure, I'd be
Please.
happy to. The county is required by state law to conform to two tax levy caps, the 2010 2% tax levy cap and the 1977 levy cap. When the state changed the budget law a number of years ago, what previously had been allowed in terms of automatic cap banking was eliminated from the law. And in its place, the state now requires counties to consider the resolution that is before the Board of Freeholders this evening. While the resolution reads that it talks about increasing the appropriation cap, the county does not anticipate at all approaching the appropriations cap, nor does it anticipate taking advantage of the increased appropriations cap that this resolution would put into effect. The reason that this resolution is put before the board is as a result of the state's elimination of the automatic cap banking. By the board's consideration or favorable consideration of this resolution, it allows for the difference between the appropriation amount raised in the 2020 budget and the 3.5% limit to be banked by the county
for the subsequent 2 years. This is recommended by myself and the county's chief financial officer, as it provides for a meaningful financial planning tool that the county can avail itself of. But the reason that this resolution is put in place is because the automatic cap banking is no longer provided for under statute.
Greg, also, this is identical to last year.
That's
We did
correct.
this the same.
Yes, you will find that the board has been asked to consider this resolution on an annual basis since the time that the automatic cap banking had been eliminated.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll read the motion once more. To adopt this resolution on first reading and authorize the clerk to advertise this resolution as introduced for first reading and also post same on the bulletin board in the lobby of the County Administrative Center, together with the notice of public hearing stating that a hearing will be held on February 19th, 2020 at 6 p.m. prior to final adoption of this resolution. So will someone make the motion?
I'll move.
Second?
Second?
Any other discussion? A roll call, please.
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Fasano?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley?
Yes.
Okay, next is personnel. Could I have a motion to adopt the personnel agenda?
So moved?
Second.
Is there any discussion? A roll call, please.
Freeholder Fantasia?
Yes.
Freeholder Fasano?
Yes.
Freeholder Director Patillo?
Yes.
Freeholder Yardley?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Director. Tomorrow I will be attending the statewide insurance fund reorganization representing Sussex County there, and I'm looking forward to the insurance fund's reorganization. The county continues to do well with its general liability as well as its workers' compensation insurance, working with the statewide insurance fund. I've had the pleasure to meet with the Budget Subcommittee and the Capital Projects Committee in reviewing the proposed 2020 county budget as well as the capital improvement program. Looking forward to next week to have the opportunity to sit down with Freeholder Fasano. I also want to take a moment, and I appreciate Freeholder Fasano's kind words for having attended the orientation, so thank you.
That was a good time.
Thanks to the staff, all of the department administrators and division directors that were able to come out last Saturday and put on what I thought were exemplary presentations for Freeholder Fasano.
Absolutely.
Also, too, I would just direct, and I know that the director had mentioned this in her report this evening, but the public's attention to the county website and specifically the information that has been posted concerning the novel coronavirus that is currently of great interest to the public worldwide. The Division of Health has been in constant contact with the State Department of Health along with the Center for Disease Control, monitoring the situation. And Marty, thank you, because I know you've been involved with that as well. There has been very good information, not only produced by the Division of Health, but particularly links to the State Department of Health, as well as the most up-to-date information from the Centers for Disease Control. So again, as that continues to be of interest and concern to our population, I would encourage people to take advantage of that information that's available through the county's website. Also, too, just to let the board and the public know that there has been a partial activation of our Emergency Operations Center for the upcoming bad weather that is anticipated later tonight and to go through Friday. While it is just a partial activation, the Sheriff's Emergency Operations staff will be there and will be in contact with myself along with the Department of Engineering and Planning relative to any issues that arise concerning our roads or bridges. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much.
He's activating that tomorrow or tonight?
No, the partial activation is in effect.
What time is this begin?
Let's see. It just says later tonight. I don't have a specific time. 10.
Council?
I thought I heard 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock? Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
okay. Anything, Kevin?
Nothing for tonight, thank you.
Do we have any new business?
There's unfinished business at 19.
Okay, unfinished business.
I just wanted to say under unfinished business, I know we all received a draft to a resolution from County Council. Freeholder Hertzberg and I both he had one line suggestion, I have 2 line suggestion that I would like to be considered. So I'll be sending that to Terry, and she can distribute it to you, so we can have discussion at our public meeting regarding what our final iteration of that will be, that will end up going to vote.
Okay, thanks. Okay, where are we? Is there any new business? No, okay. All right, our second public session. Everyone is asked to keep their comments to 3 minutes. Please state your name and print, name and municipality on the sign-in sheet. And this comment period is for anything, not just about what was on the agenda. So could I have a motion to open the floor for comment period, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Floor is open.
Thanks, Marty Kane from the Lake Packman Foundation, Tommy Lyons from the Lake Packman Commission. Yeah, we just really wanted to take this just a couple of seconds to thank you folks for the tremendous support you showed with the DEP grant for round one. We really think your action, as well as Morris County, has made it a much stronger proposal. And the news is that in incredible speed for DEP, they're promising a decision on or about February 14th. So that would be a week from Friday. So we'll certainly let Greg know what those results are. Like Freeholder Yardley mentioned the novel techniques, and we really would love to see those. We think we have some really good ones to try at Lake Opakam that have been tried elsewhere, but you just don't know what's going to work there.
So many of the techniques that Fred Lubner talked about during his presentation, we will be, if awarded the grant, we will be implementing on Lake Opakam.
Well, normally we let everyone, I just want to interact here. Just if you would just keep us, the board, informed of when you are talking about those things. I have a deep interest in understanding them and how they work and how they work in the lake.
Sure. At our last commission meeting, Fred Lubner did present the water quality report from 2019. So I'm happy to send that.
Thank you.
And any other information related to the house that comes through, we can keep you up to date.
And for that information about the septics you mentioned, we may need to do a lunch together. This is probably the person you need to talk to. So, no, but really, thank you very, very much. It's greatly appreciated. And also, we think there may be some progress with DEP about the strategies that they employ for harmful algal blooms, the ones that really, I'll say, terrorized our lakes last summer. They really have been listening, and we're hopeful now they actually do something about that. So
Are they talking about dredging?
That's a very long-term solution, but at least to, right now, before they put warning signs all over the highways and all, that there would be cautions and that they would be a little bit closer to the other states.
I will say that I'm disappointed in, unless, and you can correct me because I've been corrected before, but that explanation that we had better testing, yeah, I find, feel free if I'm wrong to tell me I didn't hear that right, but it's basically what they said, and it creates a huge problem when people say, well, I'll go down the road because they have it, but they said it's safe.
It's even worse on, for folks at Greenwood Lake, where half their lake is treated one way and half their lake is different, completely different. So we're hoping that we presented a white paper that was done between the commission, the foundation, and several other large lakes in New Jersey that was presented to DEP, and we're hoping that they listen.
Yeah, something that was presented at the HAP Summit was the introduction of a tiered approach to their warning system, so that it would present the risk of the level of harmful algal bloom that's present. So they test based on cell count, but also a toxin level, so that when they introduce a warning about a water body, they would introduce it as a tiered approach and present the risk associated with entering or contact with the water body. So that was presented to have.
Yeah, it would be nice not to have, signs on Route 287 and 80 basically saying, your lakes are closed. So.
I want to just say that we really felt as a freeholder board the need to unify behind this grant because the DEP needs to know that we're all in this together.
Yeah, I think the collaborative effort between the 4 municipalities of the lake, our 2 organizations, and certainly the counties, it just, really,
Makes a difference.
Yeah, it makes you feel really good about where you live. And so we really do thank you so much for your support.
Thank you.
For all
Thank
you're
you for
doing
all
and
you
still
do.
doing at the commission.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
My name is Carl Luthman, I'm from Lafayette. There's going to be a thread through what I say, so just bear with me. I've been very amazed on the activity, the time and effort, and everything else that's gone into the discussion about the Second Amendment. I don't know what the solution is. I do not have a solution. I'm not here to provide a solution. The only thing I have to say about that is I know what happens with assault weapons. And I don't think our founding fathers would have ever imagined that I could fly a helicopter in Vietnam that would cover maybe 3 to 4 acres in less than a minute and not have a mouse survive. You look to see what miniguns produce. In addition to that, I would have put 14 holes in the ground because I had 7 rockets on each side of my helicopter. So it really amazes me all the time and effort that goes into that. And then I come here tonight. We're talking about the budget. By golly, there's not a crowd here. What affects the county of Sussex residents more than the county budget? And I will tell you that as someone in space that spent the time on researching the solar project as much as he has the Second Amendment, maybe we would be in the situation we are today on that solar project. So,
1
here's,
minute.
excuse me?
I'm sorry, 1 minute left.
Keep going, just keep going.
I do find this, okay, I don't want to take it back. So what I'm here basically is to say, shame on the citizens of Sussex County. If this room isn't packed at your next meeting when the budget is adopted, we have no reason to complain about our taxes. I know that when I was here at one meeting, one of the freeholders said it would be painful or it would be difficult. I'm telling you, it's going to be painful. Lafayette in the 70s and the 90s, we went to 0 as far as raising taxes for municipal purposes. But we had to kill some sacred cows.
Time.
And there are sacred cows out there to be had, and that's the only way you're going to do it. And I'm hopeful that next year, I'm going to come. What I'll do is read authorizing cap to limit county budget appropriation increases in the calendar year 2020 county budget to 0% over the previous. This cap, by the way, is a real boondoggle. It's a way to get around the cap, as you all know. So I appreciate you listening. I can guarantee you this room will not be filled at your next meeting. And that's just,
Yeah, I just want, we did not introduce the budget yet. So we have to introduce a budget, and then we have to approve a budget, and there is a public hearing for the introduction and for the approval.
That's correct.
Right.
That's your next meeting, as I read this.
No, it's not the next meeting.
No.
We actually haven't set a date for that yet.
Stating that a hearing will be held on,
That's for the resolution. So the resolution that we passed tonight, what you're referencing,
Yeah.
that 3.5% cap.
Yeah.
We passed what is considered a first reading of that.
Right.
So they will be posted out in the hall. In our next meeting in 2 weeks, we'll have a final reading and therefore a final vote of that. But
final vote on what?
We are not raising taxes 3.5%.
No,
Let's
no,
make
hang-
that crystal
hang
clear.
on, hang on. We're voting on making this
Okay, so when do you present your budget?
Craig?
There will be a budget work session, February 18th at 5 p.m. It is then anticipated that, based upon the feedback that I'm provided by the board, that the county budget in all likelihood will be introduced at one of the meetings in March. In all likelihood, it'll probably be the second meeting in March, with a public hearing on the county budget in April.
Great. I was suggesting you're gonna increase it by 3.5%.
No.
No,
No.
it's not what
I
that
was not
proclamation
suggesting
said.
that.
It's very misleading. I could understand why you.
No, I understood it completely. And I also heard your administrator say it's not gonna go up to 3.5%.
No.
But there's that wiggle room there with the cap. You can bank the difference. And, but whatever, my point is, whatever meeting you talk about the budget, we're not gonna be able to hear.
You know, I just have to tell you, yes, there will be people here. There's always people at the budget hearing, and there's always people that have suggestions for the board.
Well, Mr. Yardley, I've been to your budget hearings for the last 3 years. And I guarantee you, there may be twice as many people here as there are here tonight.
Sure.
This room is not going to be packed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Luffman, could you sign in, please?
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank
Your name and your municipality, please.
Thank you.
Christina Carson. I wanted to start by saying I listened to the comments by those that attended the last meeting and also how the board facilitated the meeting. And I thought, given how strongly so many feel regarding the subject matter, all handled themselves with grace. It can be challenging when people feel so very strongly to show respect, so it was really nice to see. I'm here tonight to share that if you are determined to pass the Second Amendment resolution, like it sounds like you are, there's a few things that I'm hoping that you'll consider. As a family that has gone through the firearm permit application process, I know that the vetting process for mental health is based on self-report. For instance, there's a list of questions asking the following. Have you ever had any psychiatric hospitalizations? Have you ever been dependent on the use of a narcotic? Have you ever sought a psychiatric evaluation? Those are some examples. And then you check yes or no. That is the extent of the vetting for mental health challenges. This is relevant on many fronts. One, this resolution speaks to the laws in our state being oppressive or in some way working against our Second Amendment rights. As a proud Democrat whose brothers own guns, who's married to a Texan, and who very proudly supports our Second Amendment rights, I also strongly support red flag laws. I support them because of who they protect, Sussex County residents. They protect all of us. They don't seek to keep guns out of responsible law-abiding citizens' hands. They seek to keep guns out of terrorists, domestic violent offenders, and mentally unstable individuals' hands who might be planning mass shootings, like the Sussex County man Michael Zaremski, that was sentenced just this past week. According to MJ Herald, he talked about planning a mass shooting. He terrorized his ex-girlfriend, with his firearm, holding his gun to her head, asking her to guess if the gun was loaded, and reportedly terrorized her in many other horrific ways. And thank God for Sussex County law enforcement that stopped him before he committed any greater harm. The lack of a mental health vetting process for gun ownership tells us why red flag laws exist and why they're needed. If the Republicans are right, and mass shootings really are about mental health challenges and not guns, then we need a way to vet for mental health challenges. It's only logical. I urge the board to take the opportunity to not make the divide in our county even greater than it already is. Let us unite on what we can agree on. All reasonable people want to protect our Second Amendment rights, and we all want to protect Sussex County residents. I still maintain this resolution is unnecessary, given the red flag laws protect and do not infringe on our rights. However, please consider all the above if you're determined to pass the resolution, and the language you use in the resolution, so as not to disparage the red flag laws.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Katie Rotundi, Hampton Township. I wanted to speak tonight about the two-way resolution and the inclusion of red flag laws in them and the opposition to red
Can
flag
I
laws.
just say something? Because you have not seen our resolution.
I know I haven't, I'm speaking to the fact that if you speak to somebody else,
Go ahead.
because no one's seen the resolution, and the one that was presented by Parker State has that, and everyone that has been passed, and almost every single municipality has that, so I'm speaking to the fact of what I think should not be included in that.
Right.
And I don't think I deserve to be interrupted for that.
Mhm. Go ahead, yes.
I'll start all over.
Thank you. We all know what red flags are, the red flag laws are. There was misinformation at the last meeting, but I know that all of you know what they are. The reason I'm speaking tonight is because I'm a victim of domestic abuse. I reported it because I did not want that person, if it were to happen to someone else, once I left the relationship, I left it as then, for him to be able to harm anyone else. Or if he did try to get a gun, and this was not in the state of New Jersey, but if he tried to get a gun, that would be on his record, because in order for a red flag law to go into place, one of the people that is in the household or a law enforcement officer has to do it. And then they take in consideration the judge that it goes to the background of the person. So that record will come up on his record if he ever does try to find a gun or if he hurts someone else. So I think it's very, very important that if the resolution is something that happens and passes, that red flag laws are not included in something that is opposed to in Sussex County. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? If you're not hearing anyone, can I have a motion to bring it back to the board, please? So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, I would just like to remind everyone to please check the county's website at www.sussex.newjersey.us for meeting schedules. For executive session, Carrie, would you take it,
Yes.
please?
Whereas the subject matters about to be discussed may be excluded from the public portion of the meeting by resolution of the Board of Chosen Freeholders as an exception to the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B, and whereas it appears necessary for the Board of Chosen Freeholders to discuss such matters in executive session, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Sussex, in accordance with the provisions of NJSA 10:4-12B and NJSA 10:4-13, that the board at this time enter into an executive session from which the public may be excluded, and be it further resolved that the general nature of the subjects to be discussed relates to the following items as authorized by NJSA 10:4-12B as designated number 7, matters relating to litigation, negotiations, and attorney-client privilege negotiations with CWA 1032 non-supervisory, and be it further resolved that the deliberations conducted in closed sessions may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Sussex County Board of Chosen Freeholders, or provided by law that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. And be it further resolved that upon completion of the business for which the board has entered into closed session, and I seek clarification, will we resume an open session for action, or will we be able to adjourn from executive session? Or do you want to just
I
resume?
don't anticipate that the board will be asked to take any action at the conclusion of the executive session.
Okay.
So we could, if it's the board's pleasure, we could adjourn from executive session.
Which the board has entered. The board shall not take formal action after executive session, and will adjourn the meeting from executive session.
Okay, then can I have a motion to adopt the executive session resolution and enter into executive session?
So moved.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.